A jury trial for Jeffrey Epstein's best friend reveals more details of teen abuse, and the elites are panicking. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. A new chapter in the epic saga of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. It's the worst saga to come along since the Hobbit trilogy. Don't at me. Dwarves are not supposed to be sexy. Speaking of things normal people shouldn't find sexy, human trafficking. British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell is currently on trial for trafficking underage teen girls for her best friend, Jeffrey Epstein. Meanwhile, I can barely get my best friend Ethan to come over to play video games. Women are just better at friendships. We discussed Maxwell's arrest earlier last year and how she was allegedly involved in the sexual exploitation and abuse of minors starting in 1994. The FBI arrested Maxwell in July 2020 for trafficking underage teen girls as young as 14. As a result, Maxwell faces 8 charges, including 6 counts involving enticing minors and sex trafficking. If convicted of all counts, she could be sentenced to 80 years in prison. Or, life. It's unlikely that Maxwell would be able to serve that sentence and walk home free at 140 years old. But if anyone had access to an immortality serum, it'd be a person whose job description is socialite. Maxwell's criminal trial is still going on in a U.S. federal court in Manhattan. Prosecutors rested their case last week. They argued that Maxwell was involved in every detail of Epstein's life, including the crime details. Prosecutors said she preyed on vulnerable young girls, manipulated them, and served them up to be sexually abused by both Epstein and even Maxwell herself. Maxwell's defense attorney, meanwhile, argued that the Justice Department is only going after Maxwell as a proxy for Epstein, who allegedly killed himself in jail in 2019 while awaiting trial. Which is solid reasoning by the defense. After all, when Hitler killed himself, none of his subordinates were put on trial. Maxwell's attorney basically argued that Maxwell was also a victim of Epstein. She claimed that Epstein compartmentalized his life, showing only what he wanted to show to the people around him, including Maxwell. It's like when your boss at work is fired and it's revealed that he had a secret stockpile of Snickers locked in a drawer in his work desk. Only instead of Snickers, it's sex with minors. What about all the witnesses who said Maxwell was involved? Well, Maxwell's defense attorney also argued that victims have manipulated their memories of alleged abuse by Epstein to include Maxwell because they've been financially incentivized to take Maxwell down. She said those financial incentives were possible future civil lawsuits against Maxwell. So it's like people saw the secretary who had a key to the locked drawer of Snickers with chocolate on her face. But that could have been from any candy bar, so stop asking questions. Maxwell's defense also had an unusual request: allow anonymous defense witnesses. That's because several of the prosecution's witnesses who were victims of Epstein's sexual abuse were allowed to testify anonymously, and the defense argued they had witnesses who were also afraid to testify under their real names. For example, the defense listed one potential witness under the pseudonym Billary Clintain. Actually, we don't fully know what Maxwell's defense team plans to do because they won't start their case until Thursday. But until then, here are 3 interesting facts that came out of the prosecution's side. Number 1, Maxwell and Epstein's relationship was more than just best friends. Epstein's victims alleged that Maxwell was involved in not just facilitating sex abuse, but was also participating in underage orgies. Maxwell's defense attorney obviously denied this, but some new photos came out during the trial showing Maxwell and Epstein were maybe just a bit more than just friends, even if the defense claimed that they weren't even Facebook official. The photos were found in CDs taken in a 2019 FBI raid on Epstein's Manhattan townhouse. The good news is the FBI still had their 2001 Gateway desktop computer so they could read those CDs. Apparently Epstein and Maxwell were quite the world travelers. It's especially fitting Epstein is wearing a Russian Cossack hat, given the nickname of his private plane. This photo is allegedly on Epstein's private plane, the Lolita Express, and it's not called that because Epstein was a fan of Russian literature. Federal prosecutors believe he used the Lolita Express to traffic his sex victims between his homes in New York, New Mexico, Paris, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Palm Beach. Good thing Epstein got a foot massage. Nothing is harder on the feet than constantly riding on planes. Another photo reveals the pair at Queen Elizabeth's estate in Balmoral, Scotland. I know what you're thinking. The Queen of England has a log cabin? I'll explain more about that later. An FBI computer analyst testified that there was a file in a recorded hard drive created by the user Gmax on October 14, 2002. It wasn't revealed who made the file, but it says Jeffrey and Ghislaine have been together as a couple for the last 11 years. They are, contrary to what people think, rarely apart. I almost always see them together. They complement each other really well. So the idea that Maxwell could have been completely unaware of the international underage sex trafficking ring Epstein built to serve the world's elite is hard to believe. But there was so much more we learned during this trial. More after the break. Welcome back. What else have we learned so far during Ghislaine Maxwell's trial? Number 2, Epstein's staff names names. Several members of Epstein's staff testified during the trial. Epstein's housekeeper, who had worked at Epstein's Palm Beach mansion between 1990 and 2002, described Maxwell as a controlling boss. From the day Maxwell came to the house, she right away took over. She mentioned she was going to be the lady of the house and in charge of Epstein's other properties. Lady of the house is just as tough a job as socialite. Maxwell allegedly scheduled him to clean up after Epstein's massages 3 times a day. We described this in more detail, but if we did, YouTube would demonetize this video. A household manual supposedly told him to never disclose Epstein or Maxwell's activities or whereabouts to anyone. Epstein's housekeeper also said he drove 2 teens to the airport and saw them board Epstein's private plane with Maxwell. Epstein's longtime pilot also testified in court. He said he saw 3 former presidents board the plane: Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, and Kevin Spacey. The pilot testified that he had never seen any sexual activity during trips, although the cockpit door was always kept closed during flights on the plane nicknamed the Lolita Express. However, he also admitted to piloting other private planes nicknamed the Murder Maker, Air Extortion, and the Flying Embezzlement. So maybe he just isn't very observant. There are many other big names on the Lolita Express, including former Maine Senator George Mitchell and former Ohio Senator and astronaut John Glenn. According to one of the victims, who testified under the pseudonym Jane, she saw Jeffrey Epstein's brother Mark Epstein on flights along with Los Angeles-based celebrity chef Adam Perry Lang. Now, there isn't any clear evidence indicating that the people named were involved with Epstein's sex scandal, but one name stood out: Prince Andrew, Duke of York. More after the break. Welcome back. Number 3. Prince Andrew is getting nervous. It's no secret that Prince Andrew, Queen Elizabeth's second son, has ties to Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. After all, it's thanks to him that Maxwell was able to take this photo in Buckingham Palace, and this photo at the Queen's estate in Scotland. Now, Prince Andrew's in hotter water than a bag of English breakfast tea. Before the Maxwell trial, prominent Epstein victim Virginia Roberts Giuffre filed a lawsuit against Prince Andrew for sexually assaulting her between 1999 and 2002. The hearing for that will take place on January 4th next year. Prince Andrew has denied allegations against him and even claimed not to remember Giuffre.
I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady.
This is despite the fact that he was in a photo with her and Maxwell. He's the one creepily side-hugging a teenager? More has been revealed since then. Earlier last month, a former Epstein employee told Australia's 7 News Spotlight that he witnessed Prince Andrew kissing and groping Jeffrey near a pool on Epstein's private island.
He removed her bathing suit top and then started grinding against her and grabbing her ass. They were kissing as well.
During the trial, Epstein's housekeeper, pilot, and victims all said they saw Prince Andrew. Now, the trial is focused on determining whether Maxwell was involved in Epstein's sex trafficking scheme, not Prince Andrew's involvement. But it seems Prince Andrew is feeling desperate to defend himself. According to The Mirror, a British tabloid, sources close to Prince Andrew say he is incredibly stressed. He ordered his U.S. legal team to cancel Christmas to focus on the case accusing him of rape. That's the worst reason to cancel Christmas since Ebenezer Scrooge. Royal sources say Prince Andrew is totally consumed with the legal battle and has been staying up into the night to keep in constant conversation with his California-based lawyers. Now, this is all from a tabloid, so they may be exaggerating. But from the looks of it, life is just becoming more and more miserable for Prince Andrew and his giant TV. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. So far, Prince Andrew's lawyers have come up with this winning legal argument, pointing out that the victim was 17 when she was forced to have sex with the prince, which is technically old enough to consent under New York law. You see, Virginia Roberts Giuffre is suing Prince Andrew under the New York Child Victims Act, which applies to victims under the age of 18. But in a case where a 17-year-old alleges abuse, they must prove a lack of explicit consent or lack of consent by implied threat. That's something Prince Andrew's lawyers say Giuffre won't be able to provide because there are no third-party witnesses. It's just like the plot of the new Netflix holiday movie. A Christmas prince who technically didn't commit statutory rape, but may have committed rape. Also, Epstein didn't kill himself. So what do you think? Leave your comments below. And if you like this show, please know we could not do it without direct support from viewers like you. Visit patreon.com/AmericaUncovered and contribute $1 or more per episode to help us keep the show going. So click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.